Hey, hey, hey! What's up, chosen parents? It's Fabulous Friday. What would Dorsey do? Doody 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 do. Always trying to bring some levity to a very difficult situation. Just want to say hello to all my beautiful chosen parent peeps. Welcome to What Would Dorsey Do? Today, I want to talk just briefly about boundaries. Comes up a lot, came up a little bit in the Chosen Parent Collective, and I talk about boundaries a lot and how to set healthy boundaries. And one of the things that came up with regards to boundaries that I frequently see is that people oftentimes use boundaries as a reason to actually hold other people, like their children, at bay. And so frequently, boundaries can be used as a way to not actually reunite with your beloved children. So let me explain. Oftentimes we hear from mental health providers and from sometimes even our children where they're like, you don't respect my boundaries, and everybody has a definition or a narrative about boundaries. And sometimes even chosen parents will say, well, my child doesn't want to see me, so I want to respect their boundaries. And so boundaries are frequently misunderstood and used as a weapon by the other parent and also by the chosen parent as a way to kind of keep their kids at bay, keep things from actually resolving. And so one of the things I want to share with you today that I would do differently is to look at boundaries in a different way. To think about boundaries instead of as I've got to set a boundary and keep you away, as looking at a boundary as a way to create a healthy container, if you will, a healthy way to dialogue with your child, a healthy way to hold space. So I talk to my coaches a lot about holding space, and that coaching isn't about telling or advising. Coaching is really about holding a container, and a container for their chosen parent, the people that we're working with, to really be able to step in and see what's going on in their situation and to make choices that are healthy for them to recover their beautiful children. One of the things people do with boundaries is they use it as an excuse to actually not clean up their side of what I call the proverbial mirror, if you will. So they use boundaries as a way to not take responsibility for what they're bringing to the container with the person that they're in relationship with. So since we're in the chosen parent, well, since we're in the Alliance to Solve Parental Alienation, and I like to address chosen parents here, we'll talk about the parent-child relationship. However, this happens with all relationships. So a lot of times people use boundaries as a way or an excuse to not really fully step into a relationship and to not step fully into the relationship with responsibility. And so one of the things we teach at the Institute is 100% responsible 100% of the time. And that can be really challenging for people because, we want to feel like a victim, right? Our victim mindset is very, very intoxicating. And even though it feels bad, it feels good because it's what we know. And so we can use the excuse of I'm holding a healthy boundary as a reason to not actually recover a relationship or to step into the container, or even better, hold the container for your beloved children to step in and fold in. And it really does take ninja skills, if you will, to really understand what holding a healthy boundary means. And it really doesn't mean a wall, right? It doesn't mean this is the line and you can't cross it. That's what we think about when we think about boundaries, because it makes us feel safe, right? That if you're on that side and you don't cross my line, then I'm okay over here on this side. And that's actually not true, because the truth is we're actually all connected, and we're all connected, all of us. You're connected to your beloved children. They're connected to you. And when you are in relationship with somebody and you bring a child into the world, you're forever connected to them. And so when we are in a relationship where we experience psychological abuse or physical abuse, I don't like to use the word abuse because I think that word holds us stuck, but we'll use it since it's what we know. When we experience an entanglement with somebody that causes pain, then we want to move into the position of blame, right? That's your fault, and I have no responsibility in that. When we move through life that way, what happens to us is we constantly manifest the same experiences over and over and over again, but we don't see the connection. We don't see that all of those events are similar or the same. We don't see the connective tissue of why we're choosing the experience unconsciously, because we really, really need to wake up. So then we say, well, I'm not going to do that again. And I'm going to set a boundary, and I'm never going to allow this to happen again. So people do this all the time, and I know I've done it. We all do it. And it's like, I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to allow you to do that. And we set a boundary of what's not going to happen. And we don't realize that we're training our brain, right? We're training ourselves to look at what we don't want, instead of a healthy boundary of what is okay with me, what is appropriate for me, how do I want to be treated. So we oftentimes focus on the boundary as what I don't want. I don't want that over there. And instead of like, well, wait a second, the opposite side of the same coin is what do I want? And then my favorite question, and if you're in my world at all, you hear me ask all the time, what or why am I choosing to have this experience? What is what's in it for me? Is there something for me to learn? Is there something for me to teach? And just remember, if you're standing on the teacher side of the mirror, the worst thing you can do is to say to the other person on the other side of the mirror, oh, thank you for showing me that terrible part of myself in the mirror. They don't want to hear that. Okay. So if you're teaching, you don't want to be teaching like that. No finger pointing, right? That doesn't make the other person feel good. I really don't like that jerky part of you. I can see the jerky part of me in you. That's not a healthy way to have that conversation. So as we move through our boundaries and we really understand what is a boundary, we're really boundaryless because we are all actually connected as one. And when we're moving through the world and we're having communication with our children or our co-parent or our co-workers or whoever, and we're having a entanglement that feels bad, right? We want to immediately say what we don't want and put a boundary down instead of focusing on why am I choosing the experience and what is in it for me? Is there something for me to learn? Is there something for me to teach? And why am I choosing the experience, right? And then the other thing is, when was the first time I felt that? So when we start looking at our experiences, we can start understanding that we're bringing things in to wake us up to our unconscious parts. And it's hard to think about it that way because we have a victim mindset. We have a mindset, a part of us that likes to be in the victim role. It makes us feel good because it's where we feel safe, even though it doesn't really feel good. And so this kind of thinking, this kind of new way of understanding boundaries moves us through the world in a different way. It helps us see the world from a different perspective. It moves us back into a position of empowerment. So the victim mindset keeps us disempowered, keeps us feeling like a victim, keeps us stuck. The empowerment mindset, right, that really brings us forward and allows us to take charge of our life again. It reminds us that we've been in charge the whole time and that our life really is a manifestation of what we believe we deserve. And we do this unconsciously. So when we move into the place of consciousness, right, we move into the understanding that boundaries that we set, right, these lines oftentimes are done in the negative and don't really keep us safe. And they're really illusions anyways. And most of us don't honor the boundaries we set for ourselves, right? We say, oh, I'm not going to allow this person to do this. This isn't going to happen. And then the universe, the world, God, whatever, people say, oh, really? I'm going to test that. And they push your button, right? You're like, wait a second. And you either act out or you kind of cower to it because it's set with a negative mindset. And so what I would do differently is what I was talking about already. I would start asking the question, why am I choosing to have this experience? Am I supposed to learn something from this? Did I experience this before? What did I learn or what did I make up about this situation or about myself that I now feel like I have to create a story, a boundary, right, of what I don't want versus what I do want. And so I would shift the narrative and focus on what you want. And I would remind myself that boundaries, right? There really isn't such a thing. They're actually illusions. And especially the way we've been setting them pretty much our whole life, and pretty much the way people talk about it, especially in mental health. So for those of you that have done therapy, you'll hear mental health providers so inaccurately address boundaries. You're not respecting your child's boundaries by going in their room. You're not respecting your child's privacy. They have boundaries. It's a boundary violation. And it's like, no, I'm the parent. And talk about boundary violations, right? The mental health providers that step into your role as a parent. And parents get upset about this, and yet they don't really do anything about it. They allow this to happen, and then they say, this person is bad. This therapist is doing bad things. They're talking about my child's boundaries. They're really overstepping their role as a therapist and stepping into the role of parent. And you should be your child's trusted advisor, not the therapist, you. And so when therapists do that, we look at them as bad, but they're also just actors in the mirror in your story. So chosen parents have a story about their worthiness as parents, right? The word targeted parent is a wonderful destabilizing word for parents. There's a whole industry that created that vernacular so that you would stay victimized, that you would believe that you're a victim. And while you may be being targeted, you're not a target parent. You're the chosen parent. And when you shift your mindset about who you are, you can see that the therapist is only in this role because of your story, your belief system about you as a parent. And the moment you shift how you show up, the moment you shift who you are as a parent, your belief system as the chosen parent, as the trusted advisor for your children, right? As the parent who's going to lead your family out of the pathology, this goes away, right? You free them. You free the therapist who's acting in a role that's not appropriate for them to go away. They don't need to act in that role anymore, okay? And that is the way that you actually set a healthy boundary, by changing the way that you show up, by changing your mindset and the way you think about your beautiful container, this beautiful bubble of unconditional love, this soft place to land for your beautiful children. When you shift that, you become soft, you become accepting, you become attractive, right? You hold this beautiful space as the chosen parent, and all these actors no longer need to play a role in your story. So this is What Would Dorcy Do Friday. That is my take on boundaries, how to actually have a healthy boundary, to set your mindset about boundaries, shift how you're showing up, and really embrace your role as the chosen parent. So we're going into Super Bowl Sunday this weekend. So I want to tell everybody to have a wonderful weekend. If you like football, I hope your team wins. And even if your team isn't playing, I hope the team you're betting on wins. And I hope you get together with friends. Always make sure you surround yourself with people that love you, that are positive, that treat you well. Enjoy your weekend. Have a lot of fun. Don't forget to have a good time. It's really important as chosen parents to enjoy your life and to be happy. So happy Super Bowl weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next Friday. Have a good one, everybody. Peace in so you can have peace out. Talk to you later. Bye.